Experts predict that there are more than 8 million different species on planet Earth, with 1 to 2 million of those species being animals. While many of those animals are harmless to other animals and to humans, for many, their appearance is absolutely terrifying. So today, we'll take a look at the 10 scariest animals you won't believe exist. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to The Supreme, and click the notification bell for more lit content. Let's get rolling. Pink fairy armadillo. We'll start with what may very well be the cutest creature on today's countdown, the pink fairy armadillo. At first glance, you might think that this animal isn't an animal at all, but more like a Pokemon, which we actually talked about right here on this show before. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they went with the label of fairy in this instance. These animals don't have wings, they can't fly, and they don't even cast spells. However, there most certainly is some magic to the pint-sized critter. The 5-inch animal prefers to be underground. They spend just about their entire lives burrowing through the earth in central Argentina. They can live for up to 10 years, and most of them will never be seen out in the wild. Unlike most armadillos, the pink fairy's shell is not directly attached to its body. Instead, there's a thin dorsal membrane that attaches the shell and the spine. These are the smallest armadillos around, and like most of the others, its shell is its main form of protection. It's made up of 24 bands and is very flexible, allowing the animal to curl up into a ball in order to protect their soft and vulnerable underbelly. One last interesting note, these creatures can self-thermoregulate their own blood, meaning that they have the ability to control how much of their blood vessels are exposed to the surface, allowing them to gain or lose heat at will. Brown recluse spider. So, for all the arachnophobes out there, here's a fun fact for you. There are up to 1 million spiders per acre of land on Earth. Yeah, just when you thought it was safe. And if you're out in the tropics somewhere, that number balloons all the way up to 3 million. Most people who dislike the 8-legged critters feel an extra disdain for their big brothers, the tarantula. The thing is, most tarantulas are actually harmless to humans, but there is one in particular that could kill you if you aren't careful. The rare and scary-looking brown recluse. These 6-eyed villains pack a big bite, and if you're ever unlucky enough to experience that, then you'll quickly feel the pain of necrosis, the death of your skin tissue. Apart from these looking like the stuff of nightmares, it's important to note that most bites from the brown recluse spider have very little effect on human beings. However, every now and again, these bites can be very painful, and on the wrong person, they could even prove to be fatal. Gharial. While alligators and crocodiles have made their fair share of appearances here on The Supreme, up next we'll talk about a member of the crocodilian family that's rarely ever talked about, the gharial. Now, before you go ahead and say that that sounds like some sort of disease you can contract while doing your thing with a partner you've never met before, it's most certainly just an animal with a whole lot of sharp teeth in its long, thin snout. And it's native to South Asia. Now, I'm concerned that when I told you that it has a whole lot of teeth, that you've misconstrued that into meaning that these creatures simply have a lot of teeth, when a lot is definitely an understatement. 110 super sharp teeth line the mouths of the gharial, and they can use them incredibly well to fish through the waters of which they roam. The unfortunate thing, however, is that the dwindling fish populations in their native habitats have inevitably contributed to the decline of the gharial, forcing these scary predators into an endangered status. Lamprey. Now, for our first truly water-dwelling animal on today's countdown, the lamprey. These may in fact be the most hideous-looking creatures in the world. The jawless fish has a mouth full of teeth that it uses to attach itself onto small fish. Once latched on, the lamprey simply sucks in its meal, like it's sipping its dinner through some sort of meat straw. Most lampreys either consume the flesh of the unfortunate prey or suck out their blood. But just look at that thing. It almost looks more believable for this creature to be an alien from outer space than it is to be from our own rivers and lakes. Hairy frogfish. Let's stay underwater for a minute, shall we? It's important to note that there are some experts who honestly believe that we should fear our oceans more than we fear outer space. And when you see some of the scary animals down there, it's not hard to see why. Up next, meet the hairy frogfish, an unusual creature that looks nothing like anything else on planet Earth. At least nothing that I've ever seen before. While it may appear that the hairy frogfish is covered in, well, hair, that's actually not the case. Those are actually spines, which allow the fish to blend in with the seaweed and coral that surrounds its natural habitat. Like a chameleon, the hairy frogfish can change its color in order to blend in with its surroundings. Also, the hairy frogfish isn't known to swim, but rather uses its fins to basically walk along the sea floor, looking around for anything that could be their next meal. Coconut crab. An arthropod, by definition, is any invertebrate animal made of exoskeleton that has a segmented body with paired jointed appendages. Basically, insects, spiders, and crustaceans like lobsters, crayfish, and, of course, crabs. The largest land-living arthropod on Earth is the coconut crab. They're native to tropical places, mostly islands throughout the Indian Ocean, and can grow to be, get this, 3 feet long and weigh up to 9 or 10 pounds. Is anyone besides me getting hungry? To certain Southeast Asian and Pacific Islanders, the coconut crab is a delicacy and even considered to be an aphrodisiac. There are also reports of this animal consuming kittens, so yeah, the circle of life on this one is pretty amazing. Promacoteuthis sulcus. It took me about 10 minutes to learn how to say that word. Anyway, this Promacoteuthis, hold on, I can get it. Promacoteuthis sulcus is basically a squid with human-looking teeth. As far as we know, they aren't any threat to people as they apparently live in the deepest parts of the sea, but still strange to say the least. Chevrotine. From one cute, tiny animal to another, as we started with an armadillo and have finally made our way to a deer here with this next one. Well, it's sort of a deer. At least it looks like the miniature version of one of them. This little guy is called the chevrotine, and some locals in Southeast Asia refer to it as a mouse deer. They are much smaller than actual deer though, and at most will weigh about 30 pounds. These animals are also known for their fangs, which some say are longer and sharper than Count Dracula's. The smallest ones weigh between 2 and 4 pounds. These tiny animals are the smallest hooved creatures on planet Earth. Another interesting thing about these animals is that they're also known for being pregnant all the time. A mother who just gave birth can then mate again in just a few short hours. And as far as the offspring, they're pretty advanced themselves and have been known to stand on all fours just an hour after being born. Elephant shrew. If some of our unusual creatures were easy on the eyes, this next one is certainly the opposite, though it's still on the smaller side. It's called the elephant shrew, and its brown fur, long snout, and thick tail make it look like some sort of strange-looking rat. Native to Africa, the elephant shrew is basically the smallest species of elephant in all the animal kingdom. Now, while many people like to keep small, furry creatures like this as house pets, experts don't exactly recommend that for this particular species. As a matter of fact, some go as far as saying that these animals, because of their relative shyness and desire to have one mate for their entire lives, would make some of the most boring pets in the world. Yeti crab. One more arthropod for you as we close out today's show, but this time around we're talking about the Kiwa hirsuta, or what's otherwise known as the Yeti crab. This crab wasn't even discovered until 2005, over off the coast of Easter Island. Take a look at this thing. this unusual crab doesn't even have eyes. The crab is covered in a hairy seta that looks kind of like fur. Strange fun fact for you, the animal, for whatever reason, tends to burrow itself under hydrothermal vents, using its stiff seta to take the toxins out of the chemicals coming up from the ventilation. That was the 10 scariest animals you won't believe exist. How many of those creatures today actually scared you? Isn't it pretty crazy that so many different types of animals share our world with us? Thanks for hanging out with the Supreme. We'll see you next time.